This team is complete hot garbage. The writing's on the wall with this team. The prediction, I believe, is going to be easy for everyone, including me and including you. This team made the mistake. They swung and missed on their first round pick a couple years ago, the quarterback that is, and now they're a couple years to a few years into a full-blown rebuild, and that is the Tennessee Titans. The Titans total win prediction is 5.5 wins, and this team is going nowhere fast. Yes, they got a brand new quarterback. Hopefully, they're hoping he's the next Jesus Christ to help that franchise, or hopefully the next Steve McNair, because they have nothing else really besides him on the offensive side of the ball. Now, we're going to go over their draft picks. We're going to go over their offseason, but I think the writing's on the wall with the Tennessee Titans. Let's make this decision real quick. So let's briefly go over their offseason and their draft picks. Like I said, the writing's on the wall of this team. They signed a lot of guys to one-year contracts. They did bring in some really good talent, and they signed them to obviously longer deals. But let's go over it. They bring in Tyler Lockett and Van Jefferson. You know, those guys, they're just veteran guys. I think hopefully if they're actually produced, maybe they'll trade them at the end of this, towards the end of the season or before the trade deadline. Or, maybe Lockett can help Cam Ward develop and show him how the NFL is. They did bring in Dan Moore Jr., really good offensive tackle on a 4-year deal, $82 million. That's great. The game plan should be protect Cam Ward at all costs. So they bring him back to protect him. They also brought in a good veteran guard in Kevin Zettler. Great. Like I said, protect Cam Ward. That should be the name of the game. So good signing. They brought in, let's go to the defensive side. They brought in Lorenzo Carter, 1-year deal. DeMonte Jones on a 1-year deal. Not bad linebacker play. They did bring back Sebastian Joseph Day, good run stopper. They did bring back Cody Barton on a 3-year deal. Solid linebacker. And they brought Xavier Woods on a 1-year deal. And they brought a new kicker and a new punter. So these names are not going to blow you away, but at least they addressed the offensive line, which they already had some some draft picks they've picked in the previous drafts that went by to help that whole offensive line out. So it looks like they have a good core to protect Cam Ward, and that should be the goal. Protect your number one quarterback. And let's briefly touch on the draft. They brought in Cam Ward. Wasn't the strongest quarterback class, but what are you going to do? He was the best one. Titans had to take him because Will Levis was hot garbage. So they do take Cam Ward to be their savior, to be their Jesus Christ, hopefully to be their Steve McNair. They also bring in a solid edge from UCLA. I can't say his name. His name will be right here. So they lost a lot of defenders, so they bring one in, a solid edge. They also bring another safety, Kevin Winston from Penn State. And then they went offense. Good thing they did. They went wide receiver, tight end, wide receiver. I think those 2 wide receivers will eventually be the starters for this team. They probably have more speed than Tyler Lockett and Van Jefferson. Does Calvin Ridley have anything left? Who knows? So I think those young guys will eventually come in, try to develop a rapport with Cam Ward, and maybe they'll get something out of that. Other than that, there's nothing really to mention. They drafted a guard, they drafted another corner. Those guys, are they really going to play? Who knows? But the main of the story is they brought in a brand new quarterback, and they hope that he is the next Steve McNair. So with the Tennessee Titans, if you want to bet on them, the one thing you got to ask yourself, what do they have? What is their strength? And as you look at their roster, there is nothing really there. Their best thing about them is their offensive line. They have a lot of top draft picks in there. And like I said, they brought in some guys like they brought in Dan Moore, good offensive tackle. They have Peter Skoronski, a really high draft pick, pretty good. They got Lloyd Cushenberry III at center. Kevin Zettler, hopefully he's a little banged up right now, but hey, if he can play, solid guard. And they also got J.C. Latham, another top pick from a couple of years ago. So they have could be an actually good line that can protect Cam Ward. Not only that, they got to hold the line as much as they can because these wide receivers are probably going to have a hard time having any separation and letting Cam Ward give him the ball. So they're going to need a lot of time to get off the cornerbacks. And other than that, the running back room is terrible. It's Tony Pollard. To me, Tony Pollard is not a starter. He's a complimentary back, a good complimentary back, but he shouldn't be starting. They got Tyjae Spears, he's banged up, but when he's healthy, he's really bringing anything. Kind of a good pass back, but nobody that I would trust. And they brought in Millings, a running back from Michigan that they drafted in the 6th round. Nothing to write home about. Wide receiver room, I see a lot of slow wide receivers. Calvin Ridley, can he have a bounce back year from the previous years? He has that $100 million contract. I don't know. I mean, I can see him getting cut, pretty soon here because they need to save money. Just put it like that. Tyler Lockett, Van Jefferson, slow guys all over the place. I think those guys could possibly get traded or cut eventually. And the youth movement of the guys they drafted this year, I think they'll come in and play. Solid tight end and Okonoko, however you say his name, not too bad. Other than that, the defense is patchwork. Nobody really to brag about. You can still got Jeffrey Simmons. He's actually a really good defensive lineman, so that's something they can hang their hat on. They can count on him. They can count on Joseph Day to be a good run-stuffing defensive tackle. They still got L'Jarius Sneed. Don't forget, the big guy they signed or took away or signed away from the Kansas City Chiefs. They signed him to a big deal to be their number 1 corner. The guy cannot stay healthy if his life depended on it. So that looks like it's a waste of a signing as well. I bet they can't wait to cut him, with everybody else, the rest of the junk on this team. So not a lot of brag about on this team. They got a good to possibly great offensive line and Cam Ward. Hopefully he does well. But guys, I'm not seeing it. I think this team is going under the 5.5 total wins, and they'll possibly be fighting the Saints, or they will be fighting the Saints for the number 1 pick in the 2026 draft.